Hello, everyone, and welcome back to CXpert Share, the podcast where we have real CX experts talk about real issues facing the CX industry. And today, I am pleased to have David join me. I'm going to ask David to introduce himself and ATC so you can get a feel for the company before we jump in. So, Dave, thanks for being here, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm David Goodwin, co-founder and CEO of ATC. It's Advanced Technology Consulting. I've been doing it. I think I founded the company in 1999. So we just celebrated our 25th anniversary, or we will in October. Yeah, it's been a big deal. And our company, we consult in five core areas: voice, network, cloud, cybersecurity, and then data and AI is the last bucket. As we continue to get a little bit better at that and get our arms around, I think everybody's doing that, but that's what we do. That's who I am.
That's awesome. And 25 years, man. Congratulations. Now, I know, like many of the partners I talk to on this podcast, you do business nationally, you do business wherever your customers are. But I also get asked quite often by customers, like, who's local? Like, can you tell me somebody around me? Because there are some customers that want to deal with somebody who's regional. I know you have people spread out, but what's your primary area? Where you guys located?
We're located in a northern suburb of Cincinnati, Ohio. We pretty much cover the entire state of Ohio, Indiana, Louisville, Lexington. Those would be our hot markets where we spend a lot of time advertising, sponsoring, pretty good name recognition, especially if it's in the greater Cincinnati area. I did not mention Northern Kentucky. I should have, because it's just right across the river. So that I'd like to mention in that 25 years, and as the company has grown and my roles kind of changed, and we've gotten specific and we've kind of grown up, like we really just started hitting our stride maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. And now you're starting to kind of get into that hockey stick type growth. But I wish I would have done it sooner, right? It was a classic case of worked as a sales rep. They changed the comp plan. It was a drastic difference. So I still start my own business where I could be neutral and be able to represent all the major providers across the country. Start working out my basement, hire a couple people, get big enough. We need an office, move out. But the thing that I'll say, we've always played the long game. And I think that's what's breeding the success that we're having today, is that we didn't do things. This goes back to your point of people getting in and they get out and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's never been our MO. When I went down this path after working direct for somebody else, this is it. Like, I'm not doing something else. Failure is not an option. This is what I know. Now, the company's had to evolve. We used to sell long distance service. I'd be dead broke and not paying my house.
I was going to say that's.
So we've had to evolve that, involved into like hosted or managed or cloud-based telephony, right? Hosted voice over IP. So we went down that route. Fortunately, we did, and we've just continued to evolve as the industry's evolved, right? So we're doing more things, as I said, in those five core buckets instead of the first one is voice. That's because that's what we started with.
Yeah. That's awesome, and I'm sure you've seen, just as you guys have evolved, I'm sure you've seen your customers evolve. As you evolve and grow both as a business and a person, and if you have companies that are evolving with you, you know, they have people in them that you get to watch grow and develop and have kids and stuff. That's awesome, man. That's a good cultural experience.
I think if you're giving them good expertise and you're really serving them well, your business relationships kind of are transcended by a friendship. And so you're treating them like work's already hard enough. Why make it any harder, right? But if you can do work with somebody you actually like working with, that you've learned to like and like, trust, that just makes work a lot better. And as a result, people stay for a long time. Like, we have almost no churn.
Wow. You don't get to be successful as an advisor to someone else's business over 25 years without having that, without having that relationship aspect, without being somebody they trust, and being knowledgeable and someone that evolves, especially when you talk about technology. Because like you said, you started off, doing long distance. Your business had to evolve and adapt in order for you to be successful helping somebody else evolve. So That's awesome. But
The
along
challenge
those
for us is that these IT executives, I mean, they're getting pulled by everybody under the sun, right? Not only
yeah,
internally, but externally, and people trying to sell them stuff all the time. I get that. I own a business. We get enough publicity around here and put enough things out where I'm getting hit up all the time on LinkedIn and emails and phone
yeah,
calls and so forth. So I get it, but we try to develop that by having a little bit of fun. When I say develop that, I mean trust. We try to not
hmm
only through our expertise in the jobs that we do, but sometimes even before we get a project that they might want us to help them with, we're doing things like taking them to nice dinners or sporting events or racing carts. We've done sporting clays. We've done a lot of different things to get them out of the office and do something fun. They get hit up a lot. So it's tough to come up with something new and different. It seems like everything's getting more expensive to get their attention. But once
yeah,
they get around us, they're like, okay, these people are legit. Like this is somebody I could see us working with. And you
exactly.
slowly build into now they know us, then they like us, then they trust us, and then away we go. Because
Yeah,
once given an opportunity, we don't usually have a problem shining. It's just a matter of, you know, differentiating yourselves before they do any work with us. Once they work with us, we're good then. It's just getting to
right.
that, right? Getting the opportunity.
Yeah, it's getting to that point where they know you well enough. So over the years, working in this space, especially with having your five pillars, right? You have areas that you focus on. I'm sure you've come across some common problems, right? Some things that permeate maybe different businesses, or maybe some things that are common to people in the CX space, or things that are common to retail or healthcare or whatever like that. So let's get into those a little bit. Talk to me about some common things you've seen that operations businesses have gotten wrong, or issues they face, and then we're going to talk about how to address some of them.
Oh wow, that's there. There could be a lot to unpack. We could talk. We could talk.
Yeah, that's what I
Right?
say. We're gonna
That you're
we'll
talking to
get through it.
somebody
We'll
that
get through a couple.
you're talking to somebody that really takes client services, white glove treatment seriously. I mean, we post our CSAT and our NPS score on our website homepage. It gets updated once a quarter, every quarter. So we
Mhm,
take it seriously. Like, there's some people that want to give you lip service or talk about it, but then they don't walk the talk. Like we
mhm,
do. And we're constantly evolving, constantly working on it, constantly evaluating new tools. We're constantly trying to find out from vendors that we're using what else can they do? What are we not using? What do they offer? And it's
yeah,
trying to understand your customer, their objectives, their needs. I mean, you really the questioning and the audit and the assessment and the surveys that we do to get it right in terms of just fully understanding what they want and where they're
mhm,
trying to go. You can't predict the future. You can't advise somebody if you don't understand where they are today and where they want to go. Once we
yeah,
have a great understanding of that, then it's just evaluating the tools, going to the different vendors that are in our portfolio, and trying to find out. I mean, even our mission statement is the exact right solution through expertise, process, and partnerships.
right.
Right.
You know
And
what? Let's talk about that a little bit, Dave, because you have consultants, and the way you approach your prospects or your customers before you're even advising them on technology is a little bit unique, and it might be something different than what a customer who gets a regular, salesperson come knocking on their door might be used to. So I don't want to give away the secret sauce, but can you talk a little bit about that journey, a little bit about how you guys do consulting work for your customers?
sure. So we start with our marketing group, which is a little bit different. A lot of people have sales folks, they're out and hitting LinkedIn, emails, cold calling, maybe face to face, making phone call. Like that's not our way of doing business. What we try to do is we try to host a bunch of different events. I think we have 16 maybe on our prospectus this year, 17 events that we'll host, right?
Mhm,
One of them you've been a keynote speaker. That's our tech
mhm,
summit. That's our biggest. I think we had somewhere around 150 or 175 people this
mhm,
year. So that's a big deal. But they're not all like that. Some of them are more intimate. Could be like 20 people maybe, 30 people maybe.
mhm,
And when we have those, excuse me, this phone keeps ringing.
mhm,
Uh, what we're trying to do is we're trying to pair existing customers with prospective customers, right?
mm.
But get in there, let them talk. Third-party testimonial, as you know, is always better than you bragging about yourself or talking about yourself, right? So that's
Exactly.
what we try to do. We try to get them together, and then we just educate. Like we bring them together, we break bread. I don't care whether we're, drinking, sporting events, dinner, whatever it might be. Just get them together in more of a social setting. But we truly do just try to educate our customers. I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to find out that we might give them some good nuggets. That are going to be helpful.
Hmm.
But so all of our clients realize they don't have time to do it all themselves. If
Right.
they wanted to devote themselves on a project that they're only going to do, like let's just say a new phone system, right? Uh, you're talking about CX, you're talking about internal, external, you got contact centers or call centers. They might be all over the country, all over the world. They're only going to do that project what? Once every 5 years, once every 10
Yeah.
years?
Exactly.
Because once
Yes,
you
sir.
get that stuff ironed out, working, it's really hard to get out of. Now, we would make the argument we'll help you do that. It won't be near as painful.
Exactly.
But the whole point is the do-it-yourself thing. If you want, all of our clients realize they need more resources. Most of them are tapped.
Yeah.
They might have the expertise or could learn the expertise, but they don't have the time. They got so many other things they need to do to be focusing on their business. They just think, well, we got this project. Why don't we bring in somebody we know, like, and trust? That happens to be ATC. We'll bring them in. Then we might do one thing. It could be something cybersecurity related or any one of those 5 buckets that I gave you. It
Hmm.
typically bleeds over into other things when the timing is right. Because when you talk about guys, I got a guy. Anytime you do something right for these people, they want to, what else can you do? Like, what else?
Yes. Yes.
Because they've already vetted you. They've already got, and they don't want to go to somebody they don't know, go through that process and blah, blah, blah. So
Mhm.
I think our secret sauce is that we genuinely care. We're in it for the long game. We're going to spend a lot of time understanding them and their business and their priorities and their objectives, right? And
Mhm.
then also what they have so we get a baseline. But it's really a little bit different. Marketing hands it over. Our consulting group, we do have kind of an intermediate person, the closest person to a salesperson that we have.
Yeah.
That person takes it from the tip of the spear in marketing and then just tries to get like an appointment, have a general conversation, maybe go to breakfast, lunch, get coffee, a drink, or whatever. Just you got to meet somebody, you got to talk, and you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Once they show some interest or maybe have a project where the timing is right, then it gets passed over to our consultant group based upon complexity, workloads, and so on and so forth. So that's
Yeah.
where we're a little bit different. We don't really have a sales group. I mean, we have targets that we want to hit, but we're on the, if we got enough activity like we're supposed to have and we're doing it
Yes.
right, we don't need to give quotas to motivate people. We don't need to do those kinds of things. We'll just do it. We'll work with the customers when the timing is right for them. And if we're got enough going on, this one will need help in a year. This one will need help in 6 months, 3 months, a month, next week, 5 years from now. We're in the for the long haul. So we'll
Yeah.
get our shot if we treat them
And
right.
that's exactly what I wanted to get to, because one of our subtopics was this concept of service-led sales. And I know, again, I said I have a bit of advantage because I actually know you, and I know a great deal of your folks, and I know that your culture kind of lends itself, and you just explained it for how you do it with your customers. You're more focused on the relationship and on delivering expertise to them, and maintaining. It's almost like you have the relationship, they know you're an expert, they know what you're good at, you do one or two things for them, and that actually breeds more sales, because they just know you now, they know what you're capable of, and so they know to come back.
Are you serving me like a 2-0 fastball?
So you can do that.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what you're. There are a couple things that I'm not a big always and never person because I'm more of a logical, pragmatic thinker, and those words don't apply very often. But
Mhm.
you will never find a case where we're trying to give somebody or sell somebody more than what they need just to
Mhm.
hit a quota or for this or that. When you go to buy a car, you want the service package, you want this, you want that, you want all these add-ons. Like, it's just not us. And
Right.
we're never going to try to fit the square peg in a round hole. I mean, you can't have a mission statement that says the exact right solution through expertise, process, and partnerships if you're selling somebody down the river just to make an extra buck.
Right.
That's not our MO.
I want to do something, and we can do this as comfortable as you are doing it. So you can adjust the question.
All
But
right.
my audience is contact center leaders, managers. Some of them are small business owners. A lot of them probably will be driving customer service teams or driving sales teams, because this is CX. And a lot of them, their mentality is not going to really be what you just now said. Their mentality is going to be, I got a number, I got to crack that whip, I gotta kick the person. I gotta sell whatever I can sell. I gotta upsell whether they need it or not, because I gotta meet a number. Obviously, you have a more mature way of looking at sales. What was there a catalyst or something that got you to that, or is there a different way of thinking that you can share with other owners or leaders who might be listening to this to maybe help them get to that more advanced way of looking at sales?
Reasons and rationale. It could be just the market that they live in, and the people that they can attract, or the availability of the labor force. I mean, there's a lot of different factors, and I don't want to speak for them, but we're in a business where probably 60% or 70% of our revenues are ongoing revenues every month. It's imperative for us to take care of the clients. We can't run our business and grow like we are if revenue's walking out the back door because we weren't taking care of them, and now all of a sudden we got to backfill just to get back to where we were. We can't hit our growth targets and have that happen. So the only way that it works is for us to really work our tails off so that clients are happy. I mean, we're going to do everything within our power. I mean, sometimes the vendors, if you look at client satisfaction rankings by industry, you'll see the business that we're in is that we're notoriously toward the bottom, right?
Yeah.
If you talk about internet service providers, if you talk about phone system, cable, cable TV as well as cable internet, like those vendors.
That's like the worst when you're talking CSAT, man. Those guys are.
Yeah, you're not good. And if you look at their NPS scores, they probably don't even want to post them if they keep them because they're not very good, right? And that's fine. But hey, I'm not here to. I haven't walked a mile in other people's shoes. I can only tell you what works for us. What works for us is you play the long game, you bump up your expertise. We're constantly learning. If you're a Stephen Covey fan, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, there's a chapter in there, Sharpen the Saw. I'm constantly quoting that, telling other people, not only I think you should read the book, I think it was a wonderful book for business and for life, but sharpening the saw. I mean, we're in an industry that's changing like crazy, right? It's hard to keep up. So we have to constantly, we do 1 to 3 lunch and learns every single week with a vendor where they buy us lunch to get time with more of our team. And then they're basically teaching us and feeding us. Same thing we do for our clients.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to eat. So let's mix in some new knowledge too, right?
Yeah.
Let's beef off our expertise. And now, because of the culture here, we have very little turnover. So now our team is starting to get more tenure. They're getting more experience, more expertise. So the size of the deals that we're good for has gone up market quite a bit because we have some people that are really freaking sharp in here now as a result of sharpening that saw, and kind of iron sharpens iron and keep that going. So I don't know. I think if you're just in it to sell it, sell and make a widget, or you got your own reasons why you just need to kind of churn and sell and that, okay, to each their own. For us in our business, we found that kind of longer term outlook, heavy focus on the client seems to work best for us. And it's easy. It's a nice parallel. We get good alignment because 60 to 70% of our compensation is residual.
Yeah.
Only if we keep those clients, right?
Right. It's residual only if they're still there.
Yeah. So their interests are the same as ours long term. It's not hey, turn it over to somebody else. I sold that. I got paid. I'm gone. I might even have 3 different jobs in the next 5 years. It's not that kind of. It's just not that kind of business, or it's not our culture anyway.
Awesome. I love that. There's a lot of contact centers that, of course, post-COVID didn't really go back to brick and mortar. And there are a lot of companies out there that are struggling with culture because they don't physically interact with their people anymore. They're spread out. They're more remote. And I know some of them are doing, come in 1 day a week or some kind of stuff. Have you noticed anything in the customers that you deal with that you think is a good idea for a company that's trying to maintain their culture without having constant contact with their people? Any ideas you've seen out there? Any companies you've seen doing something you think that works?
Well, when it's IT folks, a lot of those folks can be remote, right? They're just doing
Mhm.
their own thing. Literally, like they can just like tunnel vision doing their thing.
Exactly.
But that doesn't work across the board. Like for our culture, that wouldn't work for us. Like we have a hybrid policy, so everybody can work from home 1 day a week, not come in 1 day a week, but actually work from home 1 day a week, so they could
Ah,
do whatever they
okay.
need to do, whatever. But we find that culture, energy, growth, learning, ramping up new hires, like all that stuff goes better if you're face to face. Now we have all the tools. Like we got Zoom, Ring Central,
Right.
like I think we have demo accounts with all of them, including some of the contact center and the CCAS space, right?
Hmm.
Because we need licenses, we need to learn, we need to use this stuff ourselves. So we
Right.
have all the tools more than any one company would have because we have to be checking them all out, demoing them, seeing how they work, all the intricacies to have a good understanding. That's the only way we could, with the greatest amount of success, advise our customers.
Yeah.
If we were just learning about them but never using them, there's a gap there that's just not the same as when we're actually using them ourselves, right? So we can use them all. There are just some things when you talk about energy and culture and learning and camaraderie and the cohesiveness of a team that is going to be harder to do if you're virtual. It's just
True.
harder. You got to schedule things. People are busy. Instead of just me walking out here and having 5 or 10 minutes with somebody on something, if I had to schedule that, the odds are, I don't forget it. I'll just ask them next time I see him, and then I don't. And
Yeah.
you miss a lot of that stuff. But there are tools. I would say that if you're going to try to duplicate that with any kind of success and you're going to do it virtually, you have to be deliberate about it. You have to be
Yes.
incredibly intentional, right? You got to force yourself to have regular kind of stand up meetings where you just stand it up, like just call out of the blue, right? Have the video call, like check in with them, like just try to create an environment virtually that would be the same or close to it as possible as if everybody was in the office. What does
Yeah.
that look like? I go to the water machine, I talk to somebody, ask how their day's going. Well, okay, you got to pick up the phone or you got to set up a call. You got to do the or not set up a call, just randomly call these people so
Yeah.
that you get that kind. You're never going to be able to totally replicate being in person, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm hearing that more and more from other CEOs that more and more into the office. Here's what we learned through that kind of experiment, if you will. There are some pluses, obviously, that we gained from that. There are some negatives, positives and negatives, but you just got to try to do what's best. You got to try to lead your people
Yeah.
in a way that's going to have the greatest amount of success.
And I
Uh,
think the that in person is it. I love the twist you have on it because most companies, like you said, are trying to mimic it with, coming to the office 1 or 2 days a week. You've gone the opposite, which is be in the office, but you can be home 1 day a week. And I think that actually accounts for the balance that people enjoyed, right, during the COVID times when you're at home. You're still allowing that, even though, I mean, effectively, you could have people in the office every day because of the proximity and how you do work. So I do think that's a good balance. So I want to give you an opportunity now. This is just leader to leader now. This is you with the leaders out there in the audience. I always like these podcasts to be practical, have some actionable thing. So it could be something that we've talked about, or it could be something completely off the rails, off the wall that you just want to share. But I want you to give the leaders out there something practical that they should either be doing or start doing or stop doing. I
yeah,
mean, because knowledge, experience works both ways, right?
I'm just taking my off for just 1 second because
Go
there
ahead.
was a young guy that is in data and AI. He lives in Cincinnati, where I am. He
Hmm.
reached out to me on LinkedIn and he asked me, I'm getting ready to start this business. Can you give me some words of wisdom? Right? Didn't ask to get together with me, didn't
Perfect.
want to take a bunch of time. And, of course, this is kind of our culture, MO, pay it forward, long game, ethics, service, like all that just kind of bundles together. You could do a straight
Yeah.
line, kind of point all the dot, all those lines or all those dots would be on that same line because that's just who we
Mhm.
are, right? So tell me if this is okay. I said to him, and maybe this will be good for some of your folks, some of your audience, right?
Yes, yes.
Others, this is more toward business ownership, but not exclusively, right?
Mhm.
Especially this first right here. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to grow the most, right?
Yep.
If you stay inside your comfort zone and you hang out with people all the time that you're comfortable with, like you're not going to grow as much as you could if you put yourself in uncomfortable positions. You'll
Mhm.
find out a lot more. You'll learn a lot more. You find out a lot about yourself. You know,
Yes.
there's a lot of good stuff that comes from that. Take the road less traveled. I hear in here sometimes the people, younger people say, "Oh, well, that's not what such and such is doing." I'm like, that's never a good reason for me.
Yeah.
I don't, I really don't care how another
Right.
company is doing it or how somebody else is doing it. No,
Yeah.
we're going to try to find the best way to do it. We're going to try to find the right way, not the one that's the most popular, not the one that's the most common. That's not who we are.
Exactly.
Uh, I also said resilience and tenacity reign, right?
Mhm.
With little resilience or tenacity, or maybe a lot, depending on how much is needed, you can kind of
Mhm.
work yourself through just about anything.
Yeah.
Life's easy. Life isn't easy. It's hard. And those things, that kind of resilience or that tenacity will carry you through a lot of tough spots. And, it doesn't matter whether you're climbing a mountain or what, you're still going to just start one step
Exactly.
at a time,
You
right?
still need that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Watch your cash flow tightly,
Oh, yes. Yes.
closely, not tightly, closely.
Yeah.
Because if you're a growing business like us, I mean, we're spending money over here, and people and growing like
Mhm.
crazy, and it's all good. But that's so long as you're growing, you don't hit any rough spots, you have a
Right.
tremendous turn in the economy or something else that might make the business flatline or turn a little bit. You just have to watch your cash flow, right? I've
Yeah.
seen very successful businesses go under because they didn't manage their cash flow.
Yeah, I think that comes from like you just said, I think that also comes from where your business is, right? If you're starting a business, if you have a business that's in a growth phase, you can afford to do a little bit more with cash and stuff. If you have a business that is having an economic issue because of the industry, that's the time when you got to be more careful, more strategic about how you spend it. So I think that's great advice for people.
Uh, Begin with the end in mind. That's
Hmm.
another Stephen Covey chapter in the same
Yes,
book,
yes, it
Seven Habits
is.
of Highly Effective People, right? Begin with the end in mind. It's very helpful if you have an idea of what the end looks like, and then you can work your way backward in terms
Hmm.
of, it could be like deadlines, it could be like how you want things to work, what you want it to look like, what it's going to look like for clients, what it's going to look like for employees. It helps if you can say, hey, let's map out what the end looks like and then kind of work backwards from there.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you can end up, if I didn't know I wanted to go to Florida and I just got on the highway, I might end up in California or St. Louis or Chicago.
exactly.
Got to know where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
What else? Constantly sharpen the saw. You heard me talk about that earlier, so I won't go to that.
Mhm.
Surround yourself with good people. Uh,
That's a big one.
yeah, well, you'll love this because this is what because I know I got some good friends, very successful and so forth. But as a kind of like a dovetail on surround yourself with good people. If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
You got a problem, right? I was gonna say, yeah, you got a problem.
Yeah.
You got a problem.
I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. I'm not learning anything. If somebody else going
No,
to come in and speak or something like that,
right.
on your success or your experience or you starting a business or this or that. Okay, sure, that's different. You're
Yeah,
you're there to talk about you.
exactly. If I'm supposed to be the subject matter expert on something, then that's fine. But
Right,
that's like 1 out of 20. You
right.
know, all the other times it's funny that you mentioned that because I was talking to another business owner a week or so back, and we were talking about this state of constantly growing, constantly learning, both in business and individually. And that was one of the things we talked about. You can't be constantly learning or constantly growing if you're the smartest person everywhere you
Yeah,
go.
you think you got
You're
it
in a
all down. So that would dovetail into, I think you were going to ask, you kind of got into what's a secret sauce. So maybe this is a
yeah.
part of it, right?
Hmm.
How I would advise your audience, right? Your listeners,
Yes.
like do what you do best and outsource the rest. Like
Yeah.
stop trying to do everything yourself.
That's
And
a
I don't
good
care whether you
catchphrase,
call
actually.
us or call somebody else. I don't care whether you're in IT or another department. Do what you do best. Work on strategy, things that really move the needle, some of that tactical stuff, or even from a strategic standpoint, if you need some road mapping, get an outside party. You already know what you know. What
Yeah.
is it that you don't know that somebody could be helping you with? What other resources could be? I say all the time to folks when I ask for assistance or I might delegate or something. I'm like, can you give me some specifics? Like, no, blank sheet of paper. Here's what I want it. I want your thoughts. I don't want to narrow you down into
Right.
thinking the way that I think. I want you to just free think because you're going to come up with something I didn't even think of. Right?
Exactly.
I'll use a later date for me to add my input, 2 cents, whatever you want to call it. But there's
Hmm.
that point of, do you want to give them a project and see what they're capable of, or do you want to just tell them how to do something? Right? Maybe there's a time for that, but I'm a firm believer that give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. I don't want to
Exactly.
tell
Yeah.
them how to do something. I want to show them how to do it, maybe, and then
Yeah.
let them take it from there. Otherwise, I'm just a cog in the wheel, like I am in the middle
Right.
of everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you go the other route, then you have to be there for it to be successful.
Yeah.
Right. And and that's not growth. I don't care how good you are, whether you're a supervisor, manager, director, all the way up to a CEO. If your business only runs correctly when you're there, is because you're telling everybody what to do, you are your own problem because you're stunning
I,
your own growth.
I got two things to say to that. Number one is it's tough to go from founder to CEO. It's
Yes.
tough to make that transition. I got a buddy of mine here in Cincinnati who does a podcast series. I think he's might be up over 300 now. It might even be more than that now. He's all these founders that had to move to CEO. It's a tough transition. As a founder, you're in the middle of everything, right? You got your hands in everything. And as a CEO, you can't have your hands in everything, or you shouldn't have your hands in everything. You have to be able to coach up and build into people so that they can do the things when you're not around. That's
Right.
kind of the one side of it. Remember, I'm no spring chicken. At some point in time, I'm going to need to exit the business,
Right.
and the best way to have it on firm footing, whether if it ends up being employees or somebody else here that I sell it to or turn it over to, or if it's an outside party, regardless, if the business is less valuable, the more I have to be in everything. If
Yeah.
I leave, then they're like, oh, what do I have? I don't, it's not worth near as much. No, it needs to be able to go on and continue with the culture, continue with the growth, continue with the expertise, the tenure, not to mention all the numbers and financials, growth
Of course.
targets,
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
trends and profits and all that kind of stuff. But uh, that's the way it has to be. I see
Yeah.
too many leaders that don't want to lead. If you're a leader, you should be more high level. You should be more strategy. You occasionally got to roll your sleeves up and jump in to help out, right?
Right. Right.
But
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 that
if
should
you
be, like you said, that should be when needed. That shouldn't be the norm.
no,
The
it's got to be
norm
the exception.
for a leader is you got to be tracking the vision. You got to be driving. You got to be thinking not of what everybody's doing every day to make the business go. You got to think of what the business might need to do tomorrow, and stuff like that. So it's been awesome, man. Uh,
If I could add one more thing real quick.
Absolutely, go for it.
I would tell I would tell these IT leaders, most of them by design, including me, but it can't be me. Like in the role that I am in, and other people in the company too, you can't be an introvert. But most people in IT are introverts, right?
Yes, they are.
So I'm talking CIOs. Now, typically, the higher you get, if you get up to CIO level, a lot of times those people, whether they're introverts or not, they understand they're going to have to be able to talk to a lot of people
Right.
internally, externally, blah, blah, blah. So what I would say to those that maybe struggle to want to, you got to get out there. You got to get out there and meet different people. Yes, you're going to come across some salespeople. You're going to get pitches. Yeah, you're probably not going to like it. I don't like it either. But it's the nature of getting out there, meeting people, sharpening the saw. And I am a huge proponent of like CEO roundtables, mind share, right?
Yes, yes, I
get to,
love them as
get to
well. Yeah.
other people that are in similar positions and start learning from them. You don't need to learn everything on your own. You're just gonna take more lumps and you're not gonna move as fast. Get out and find out what other people are doing, right? Use additional resources also to extend your team or augment your team, right? There's a lot of ways to get more done without you having to do it. I've learned this because at one point I was the only person and I couldn't scale one. So how is that going to grow? And
Yeah.
start learning, take expertise and guidance from others, hire more people, train them up, give them uh, give them the resources, let them be self-starters, hire for self-starters, hire more of an entrepreneurial spirit. I don't care if you're Fortune 500 or you have 5 employees, it doesn't matter. You
Yeah.
should still maintain that entrepreneurial spirit because at some point, and you can ask everybody in here, my wife also works here part of the time. And she brought in a book, Who Moved My Cheese?
Yep. Yep.
That's
I
what's
know
going to
that one
happen to you.
well.
That's what's going to happen to you if
Yeah.
you don't get out and meet people. And look, I'm not saying I don't want this to come across as I got it all figured out because I don't. We have plenty of our own challenges. We have plenty of our own issues. Are we doing a lot of things right? Yeah, we're doing a lot of things right.
Mhm.
This is your show, so I'm trying to guide. Hopefully, somebody gets some guidance out of this or
Yes.
some
Yes.
nuggets that they might glean from it. I don't want anybody to think I got it all figured out because I don't. But I'm smart enough to realize get people that you know, people that you trust, get involved in roundtables, mind share, do those things where other people can help you be more valuable so you can just kind of navigate the ship. I mean, that's what you're supposed to
Mhm.
do as a leader, right?
Yeah.
Not
Exactly.
tell people how to
Exactly.
do things.
Man, this has been really good. You said you're not, you don't want to come off as an expert, but you gave a lot of expert advice. So I appreciate that. And honestly, I think one of the best things just is in who you are and in the delivery, because I think part of being a great leader is realizing that you don't know everything, you don't have everything, and not only is it okay, that it's imperative for you to surround yourself with good people and continue to learn and continue to get out there and try to get better. So I appreciate you. There's a lot here. I know for you guys that watch this, there's a lot to unpack and learn. I will tell you in the body in the context here, you have the contact information for both David and for ATC. Reach out. You've listened to him. You know he's interested in helping, whether you're a prospect, customer, or another business owner. An excellent resource. So subscribe to the channel so that you will be receiving the next CXpert Share that comes out. And thank you for spending time with us. And David, thank you very much for your time, sir. I greatly appreciate it.
It's my